Good evening and welcome to St. John in the Wilderness Church Between the Trees. We really appreciate you tuning in tonight. And tonight, Jeff, you're sort of a special guest, but our special guest is Jeff White, who is one of our parishioners. He's relatively new, but not anymore, I guess. You're old news now, Jeff. But I say that he's always special, of course, but Jeff is here almost every night we do Between the Trees. And what's different about it is that usually he's on that side of the camera, and he's the one that is directing and making sure that everything is working. But tonight, and we were just talking about it a little bit, Jeff, you're on this side of the camera.
Yes, it's quite different. It's a little intimidating, to be honest.
How do you like the trees?
I like the trees. You know, I am between the trees, so we're factual as far as that goes. Before, though, this one was a little close to me, so I had to kind of slide it over a little bit because I didn't want to.
We want you to be between the trees, but not in the jungle.
Not amongst the trees.
Yeah, right. Right. Just
right.
between the trees.
So I think everything fits just right about being this distance between the trees.
Yeah. So it was funny when you were here when I interviewed the bishop, right?
Yes.
So I was a little nervous with that interview, Jeff, because not so much because he's the bishop, but because I didn't know him very well. Mm-hmm. But with you, I feel like we've gotten to know each other pretty well.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of fun. This is really fun for me.
Yeah.
And I hope it is for you too.
So far, no.
So far, it's so good.
No, this is interesting because I realized that my family started coming to St. John's just a few months before we locked everything down, and I felt like just as we were kind of getting to know people and recognize the same people where they sat or where they would sit at coffee hour, that all that got shut down. So probably to most people, they've heard my name, but they don't maybe recognize me or whatnot. So yeah, it is a weird time.
Yeah. Well, you've gotten to know some people really well because, they've been the same people on Sunday mornings.
Yep.
So you've gotten to know some of those people really well.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, right when you were starting to get really active here, and then we had to shut down, but we'll get there again.
Yeah, I was actually getting ready to start my verger training. Just before that happened, I was going to work with, I think it was Dennis.
Oh, okay. Dennis was going to be your mentor.
Brian.
Oh, Brian was going to be your mentor.
Yeah, Brian was going to be my mentor, and then we shut down, and then I just felt like I wanted to help in some ways, and at that time I hadn't really done anything other than attending and just kind of becoming acclimated and learning people and all that. And I think I read that there was going to be a communications team meeting, and I thought, well, I didn't know if that meant more like assembling putting together web pages, or I didn't quite know what that meant, but I thought
I'm not sure we knew what it meant either.
And I thought, well, if you're looking for somebody who's willing to kind of just do what's needed, I'll do that. And then that kind of led to Carrie and I working together on the technical side of things, and that really evolved into just really helping out with that. And this is a good fit because of my background, and I used to run a camera at Eaglebrook at the Spring Lake Park campus about 10 years ago, and I've always been interested in IT, and that was my profession for a while too. So it's a good fit. It's something that I didn't imagine that would be called upon when my family and I found St. John's.
Yeah. So you guys have been up here in Minnesota for how many years?
26 years, 27 years.
Okay, so that's a long time.
Yes. Yeah.
So, but before, you weren't born here?
No, I was born in Kansas City, and Ann was born in Mankato.
And your wife?
Then she moved to Wisconsin Dells and spent most of her youth there. But when she was 16, her father got transferred to Kansas City. And so she finished high school there, and then she went to college down there at a private Catholic school. And I had a friend of mine that I had gone to public school with who ended up going to that same college that Ann was going to. And through him, his name was John, we met in our freshman year.
How'd you meet?
She worked at Marshall's
Like the department store, Marshalls? Okay.
She worked in the layaway part-time
Okay.
in the evenings and on the weekends. And John knew that. And I think I had heard John talk about her for about a month or so, and apparently he was talking about me to her. So we were both very curious about who these people were that John kept talking about.
Is his middle name Cupid?
What's that?
Is his middle name Cupid,
Yeah,
John?
And and so one night, it was a Friday, and he's like, hey, we used to hang out. He's like, let's go by Marshall's and you can meet Ann. I'm like, okay. And we talked at the layaway desk when she wasn't helping people. And then afterwards, we decided to go out to there's a restaurant called the Country Kitchen that for some reason we called the Country Chicken. I don't know why. It's just kind of a funny thing. And we got to know each other there initially that night at the Country Kitchen.
Okay. So now, do you consider yourself from Minnesota or from Missouri?
Equal. The reason.
You can't. You
Yeah,
gotta
okay.
choose sides.
All right.
Well, maybe you don't. No, that's so binary. Maybe you don't have to choose sides.
I guess
so
I'm
equal.
more
Go
Minnesotan.
ahead. Go ahead. Why equal?
I'm more Minnesotan now, except for sports.
Okay.
I love my Chiefs, and I like the Vikings. They're my number 2 team. I can't say I like the Twins that much because they play in the same division as the Royals.
Yeah.
But I supported the Twins when the Royals were out of it, and they've been out of it except for 2 years when I lived up here when they did win the World Series back in 2015. But as far as, thinking about neighborhoods and traffic and highways and just, the city itself, I consider myself more of a Minnesotan than a Kansas Cityan.
Okay.
What's interesting is I get down there about once or twice a year, and when it really started to seem different was when the people on the local news started getting old and retiring. And it was always some new, younger person.
Right.
And I'm like, this doesn't feel the same at all.
Yeah,
as far as watching
yeah.
the news. It's weird, but that's kind of was one of my touchstones with what was familiar with Kansas
Do you
City.
remember the weather person from when you were in high school or something?
Yeah, exactly. And now all of a sudden it's like, well, I guess I really did move away because they're all gone and all these kids I don't even recognize.
I totally get that. I remember our weather guy was this guy who would flip some chalk up in the air and he'd catch it in his pocket. and when he wasn't there, that was like, oh, it's not the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're a huge Chiefs fan.
Yep.
I know. In fact, you go to at least one game.
Yeah, I've got a friend of mine that I've known since kindergarten who lives here now. He lives in Northfield, but he keeps season tickets down there. He can't make all the games, so he sells some of them. But he and I try to go once a year down to the Chiefs game. Last year, in 2019, we brought my daughter Sylvie, who's become a Chiefs fan, down there, and so she was able to experience Arrowhead. Yeah, so that's fun.
Have you been to the Viking Stadium?
I haven't, but I'd like to. Yeah, it looks like a beautiful stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not a huge football guy.
Yeah.
I mean, because I grew up in Nashville where we didn't have back then we didn't have a professional football team. So I'm not really like a football guy. Mm-hmm. So I don't get it. I don't get the whole, how you can, I mean, these are like professional football teams. How you can, if your kid is playing on a football team, I get that. But what is it? I mean, Vikings fans are just as passionate, I'm sure, as Kansas City fans are.
I think it's a collectiveness. You're in the stadium together. There's except for the visiting fans, but there's a common goal everybody's supporting. It's just it's
There's
exciting.
an energy there.
I'm sorry?
Is there an energy there?
Yes, for sure. And the players talk about how they feed off that. Especially when the local team is on defense and everybody in the stadium is trying to make as much noise as possible. Plus, at Arrowhead, they've got a big parking lot that they share with the Kauffman Stadium, which is the baseball stadium. They're right next to each other.
Okay.
And so there's a big tradition of tailgating. So it's become an all-day thing for a lot of folks that go down there. They park next to people they've known for years. And they share
Really?
food. Yeah, catch up on how their kids are doing. It's a very social, collective gathering of people, of eating and probably in some cases drinking too much.
Yeah.
But and then supporting their team, however you define that.
Is everybody into the stadium by kickoff time?
Most people, but not always. Some people kind of work their way in. You know?
Really? Okay.
Yeah, but I would say 80% of the people there. Now this year it's really weird because of COVID. Most stadiums aren't having anybody.
Yeah.
Some stadiums, including Arrowhead, are having about 10 or 15,000 per game. So it's a totally different feel for the players. Yeah.
And KC, they're pretty strong.
This is a good time to be a Chiefs fan, that's for sure, with Patrick Mahomes.
But you hung in there with them in the dark days.
Yes. Too. Yeah. I was there I really became a fan during the Marty Schottenheimer years of through the 90s. And then they went through about 12 years of really bad football after that. No, I shouldn't say that. Dick Vermeil was there too, so maybe about 10 years of really bad football.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm still a Chiefs fan, and my wife and I, she had family and friends, and I had friends that had moved up here, and we decided when we wanted to settle down that Minnesota, and the Twin Cities in particular, would be a place we'd want to live.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good parks and a lot of good schools. And so getting back to your original question, am I a Minnesotan? I'd have to say, I feel like I am. Yeah. But it's nice having ties to Kansas City still.
Kansas City, yeah. You probably don't have many friends up here that are Kansas City fans.
No.
Or are there?
No.
Not many?
Most people, they're neutral, kind of like how I am about the Vikings. I support the Vikings, except when they play the Chiefs.
Yeah, okay. Okay, well, that's fair enough. Yeah. So, Jeff, so like I said, you're on this side of the camera tonight. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, you're on the other side of the camera doing all the tech stuff for us.
Yep.
And you've been doing that through the whole COVID thing. For those of you who may not know, we do this Wednesday nights, but we're also here on Sundays and sometimes other times as well. And you're here usually. You and Carrie are usually here. So you've kind of been through the whole COVID church experience, right? And in some ways, kind of like a verger too, you kind of see how the sausage is made with the church behind the scenes. So I wonder what that experience is like for you, whether it's deepened your faith, seeing how, what clergy are like when we're not, leading services of worship, whether that's been helpful or not helpful. I just wonder, what do you think?
Well, I think as far as clergy goes, I would certainly say that one thing I've realized is that you're all real to me. There's not the churchy Father Art and then the sitting down and chatting Father Art. To me, you and the deacons, you seem like you're the same people, whether you're in the middle of church or we're just kind of talking. And I find that really nice because it's authentic. You guys are authentic, and I really appreciate that. As far as church itself goes, it almost seems like a dream, thinking about what it was like with the gong and the procession and the choir and the where the choir sat and Carrie on Saturday and the other musicians over there, and standing up and sitting down and coming up to the altar. I think had I attended here longer, it would feel firmer in my mind. But I know that I was a part of that, but it seems kind of far away, and I'm really, really looking forward to getting back to that. I like this. I think not to pat ourselves in the back, but I think we're making the best of a bad situation.
Yeah.
And trying to bring church to folks. I feel very privileged to actually be in the church itself so often, because there's a peacefulness that's here. Sometimes when I get here early, I just like to sit in the pews and just kind of enjoy the sunlight coming through. This is more in the summer when it was lighter longer, but enjoy the sunlight coming through the stained glass and just feeling the stillness. There was that service we had that Deacon Kate had talked about, the thin places.
Right.
And this is for sure a thin place, and I feel very privileged that I'm allowed to be here during this time. And so I think having the Serenity space, I hope people are taking advantage of that, because it kind of recharges my batteries a little bit. And
Yeah. It is a thin space for a lot of people. The church, it's more than the church building. It's
Yes.
just there's an energy
Yeah.
that's, I think it's been built up here over a century, how long this church has been around. And
Yes.
it's kind of in the fabric of the place. And
Yeah.
there is something that is of the Spirit
Yes.
that's in this spot. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, yeah, I feel privileged, and it's just a unique way to experience church, kind of behind the scenes. It's
Yeah.
I'm you talking about, God talking about, or you hear people talking about God putting people where they need to be at the right spot. There's kind of a ooh aspect about that, but I truly feel like, for whatever reason, I ended up here and able to participate and help out at this time. I feel like I was kind of led to do it because I was searching for a home for a long time, and I really feel good here.
Well, we really needed you here for sure. But you're right, it is kind of, I haven't thought of it like that it's like a dream, thinking back on the way church was, but it does kind of feel like, this dream, and we're in this altered state for a little while.
Right.
So that's an interesting way to think about it.
It's terrible that so many people have died, so many families are suffering, and all that. And I it's almost like I don't want anything good to come out of it because it's been such a terrible thing for so many people. But while we're here trying to make the best of it that we can, I got to think that it's going to affect those of us in this generation forever, and how we think about things and our priorities and how we do church and in the future. Because I think we had talked about, continuing some aspect of this back when we actually have a full church, and I think that'll be great for people that are sick or they don't want to drive in on a bad snowy Sunday or snowbirds or whatnot. So if there can be any benefit or blessing in this horrible time, I really hope that things like that will reveal themselves.
That's kind of the way God works, though, and I think where God takes something broken and makes something out of it.
Yeah.
The brokenness of the cross that God makes life out of that. Somehow God makes life out of the awfulness of the cross. And I've heard on bad days, I've heard people attribute this thing, the COVID, to God, like God caused this thing, which I do not buy into. I do not believe that a loving God would do that, but I do believe that a loving God can take something broken, like our world right now with COVID, and to create something beautiful out of it, or many things that are beautiful out of it. And I think you're right. We'll see some things out of this that are really healthy and good for our congregation.
I agree, and some things have revealed themselves with our ability to use technology in this, and some things just might be almost unbelievable by the time this is over with or shortly after. Just things that we couldn't imagine might be revealed in a good way.
Yeah. Probably most people have seen the video that Ann Schweisguth put together for us. We just wanted to, it was a short video, 15 minutes, and we wanted to just give a picture of what St. John's was like in the midst of COVID and try to give a hopeful message. And you were one of the people that Ann had interviewed for that video. And Jeff, I've got to say, your piece in that was the piece that was the most powerful for me.
Wow.
I mean, it really was. The things that you had to say, and particularly, well, you had a couple things that were really so impactful, but one of the things that was about your health and some of the struggles you've had with your health. I don't know if you're, it's a hard thing to talk about, I know, and I don't want you to go into any depth, but I'm just wondering, what's it like, you've battled with cancer, and what's it like to be a person of faith with that carrying that?
It's challenging because I think a lot of people would, it's almost human nature to be disappointed, to ask why, to maybe even challenge their faith in believing in God. And I can't say that I didn't go through any of that. I think I did. But, and I'm trying to think how to articulate this, it gets your attention, unlike anything that's ever, at least in my case, ever happened before. And, there's the 7 stages of grief, I think. And I found myself in the negotiation stage for a long, long time. And I was stalled there because the initial diagnosis, when I first had it, was really, it wasn't like 3 months, but it was like a year. And I thought, okay, I got a year. And that gives me enough time to kind of make plans and make sure my family's kind of settled with, financial, all the everyday living type things. And I went through chemo, and then lo and behold, I was healed. Chemo worked better than they thought, and I was good for 2 years until it came back last fall, and then I went through another round. I went through a round of radiation, and now I'm in remission again. But after that first healing, I didn't know what to do. I had planned to die. I didn't want to die, but I had planned on it. And in some ways, I thought, well, if we all have to die, it is kind of good to know, barring some car accident, even if it's going to be a horrible way, that it's coming up, and I've got time to plan for it. Because so many people, car accident or COVID, just a few days, some people die of COVID once they start showing symptoms. And so I found myself angry. This sounds crazy, and I almost don't even want to talk about it because it sounds like I'm ungrateful, but I kind of found myself angry at God because I thought I was going to die, and now all of a sudden I'm alive, and I didn't plan on living. I didn't know what to do. I had left my job just before I found out my diagnosis to go back to school. I was going to go to what's called a coding boot camp. I had been on the network and administration of IT, and now I was going to try to become a developer. About a month before my cohort was supposed to start, I got my diagnosis. I'm like, okay, well, there goes that. And I had lost the passion of wanting to be a coder during the time, and I knew it was going to be really challenging, and I didn't want to start it unless I was determined to finish. Plus, I didn't know, with my health, they told me it's probably going to come back at some point. And so that's actually worse, knowing, well, it's going to come back at some point, than knowing you've got an expiration date, because now you don't know what to do. So I really found myself at loose ends trying to figure out what to do with my life. That challenged my faith, and it wasn't until I gave up the fact that God was like, you're trying to control this. Quit trying to control it and just trust me. And, it wasn't like an actual word, but, praying and looking at the word and, all the things that we do to try to get close to God, I felt like that was a message. And that was just the summer. That was the summer of 2019. So for several years, I struggled trying to figure out what to do. Working, part-time here and part-time there, doing jobs and just trying to find myself again. And the summer before I came to St. John's, I let go and said, okay, I'm not going to worry about this. I'm just going to do what I'm doing right now, job-wise, until I feel like there's something else I need to do. So I started driving full-time for Uber and Lyft just to give myself some flexibility, because I did have some bad days still. I'd still get out of breath and that kind of stuff sometimes. And then it was about that time that my daughter Amelia came out, and I decided, like in the video, that I wanted to find a good place where my whole family would be accepted, and that led me here. And then COVID happened, and here we are. So I apologize if I'm talking too much, but...
Hey, that's the whole purpose.
Yeah, you're right. But I feel like I'm not giving you enough time to ask questions. So lesson learned. Short story long. It was only by giving up to God and saying, "Okay, God, I'm not going to try to control this." Because when you realize you're going to die, you think you're going to die. You can either just curl up and wait for it to happen. You can try to say, okay, I want to make sure this is in order, and this is in order, and this is in order, and so forth. Okay, now I can relax for the last X amount of months. Well, I was in the middle of doing all that. And then, like I said, I was at loose ends. So only by saying, okay, God, you're in charge. it almost sounds like a cliche, right? But then there was a peace and renewed purpose in church and in occupation and just mentally. Yeah, so it might sound crazy to say this, and I don't want to say cancer is the best thing that ever happened to me, because that's not true, but kind of like maybe with COVID, you talk about broken things and God taking broken things and making them maybe better even than they were. I feel like I'm at a better place now than I was before I got sick, just because of the peace and feeling like I'm trying to live my life according to His will instead of my own.
Yeah, there was a headline on the local paper this last week, and I think I got it right. It said, breathe out fear, breathe in courage.
Oh.
And when I think about that, and that whole notion of, taking a breath, this is something constantly, and I think of the way that you're leading your life right now, and I don't, I see you here.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know you have good days and bad days, but I just want to commend you on that. That notion of that's what it seems like you're doing. It seems like you're breathing out the fear, and maybe that's what giving up to God means, is just, it's that natural thing of every day, every moment, or trying every moment, every minute to just breathe it out, breathe out the fear, and breathing in the spirit and the courage of God.
Boy, I try to. I don't do it all the time, every day. Like you said, I have good days and bad days, but I'm learning a lot here. In my Episcopalian faith, seems like there's a big emphasis on being aware, internal, meditation and praying, and all the different things that we have learned over time have come to realize that they have value in trying to settle ourselves.
Right.
Things that I never really thought much about other than praying, but
well, I think it's a good fit for you too. So you want to hang on to it. So Jeff, one of the things that we do, as you know, is we submit to the Wonder Stick that will bring in questions from afar.
All right.
And so the Wonder Stick is moving as we speak.
See, the best thing about the Wonder Stick is you just don't know what kind of hands are going to be delivering the questions. We've had a variety.
I don't even know. Is that a marmot? Maybe it's a marmot hand. Okay, well, whatever hand the Wonder Stick brought. This is a comment, not a question, but I think it reflects on part of your ministry here is a parishioner wants streaming to continue.
Okay.
And it creates connections, which is really good. We all know the very best thing is this, face-to-face,
yep.
Having lunch, dinner together, doing church, and all the drama that happens when the priest forgets things in the middle of church, all that stuff. But like you're saying, I think that we've taken a step here where there's, for whatever reason, some people can't.
Mm-hmm.
And that this is a good way.
Yeah.
So you need to stick around.
Oh, I'm planning on it.
Because we're going to keep on doing that.
All right.
Connections are really important. And this person, I think it was meant as a affirmation that what you're doing is really important, Jeff. So
that's good to hear, because especially when a person has doubts, it's good to get affirmation from other people on what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes, there aren't a ton of people who are logging into us. There are a lot that actually watch it afterwards.
I do that too, if I can't be here.
I do that too.
But that's one nice thing. It's like if you're busy, if you got a family, if you got kids, if you're putting your kids to bed on a Saturday night or Sunday, you're planning for a big dinner, or maybe not so much these days, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being able to still get edified, hear the message, spiritual communion, all the good things that come from this. That's great.
And it keeps people connected.
And it keeps people connected.
Yeah, that's really important. Okay, another, these are questions. These are like just that people love you. So I'm going to throw this one out. So another parishioner says that you're a part of making it a thin place.
A thin place, okay.
That's a huge compliment.
Yeah, because I think about myself. Yeah, that's great. I'm awesome to hear, and I'll try to do my best to continue to help out and contribute.
I mean, you think about those thin places in Ireland and those, and what made them thin places were the people who journeyed together, but journeyed with God in those places, and years of faithfulness. And I think what this parishioner is saying is that on account of folks like you, that's what makes St. John's a thin space too.
And we've got a whole history, like you said, over 100 years of people trying to be faithful and contribute however they could over the years. It would be very interesting. I was talking to Carrie, and maybe you, Father, also about how I think it's important that we archive all these messages and these videos, because assuming there's a way 100 years from now that people can retrieve them, it'll be fascinating for people to probably, especially during a time of COVID, to watch these things. I would love to be able to go back 100 years and
not me.
I mean, there's probably some stuff I wouldn't like, and but just from a technological perspective or whatever, So hopefully there's this historical aspect of this that's good also.
There was something great about the old-fashioned church where you say it one Sunday and you're like, wow, I really wish I hadn't said that, but at least it's gone. And now forever and ever it's going to be
That's true.
So, okay, so next question. Being new to St. John's, what would you like people to know about your family?
My wife and oldest daughter are both in the medical profession. My wife is actually an ER nurse at St. John's in Stillwater, so she's been on the front lines. And appreciate all the prayers that that she's gotten from people, and I hear people, talking about them doing that, and we're so grateful for all that. And I'm also grateful that she hasn't gotten sick, and I'm holding out that she'll get the vaccine soon. And then my oldest daughter, Sylvie, she works there as a nursing assistant, and she's going to school to become an RN right now at Century. And then my youngest daughter, Amelia, is studying industrial engineering at Duluth, although she spent a lot of time at home because they've had, and my daughter Sylvie too, a lot of her nursing stuff has been virtual. We live in Shoreview. I love Minnesota. One of the things I like about it is I think you get two places for the price of one, because winters and summers are so different. Unlike Kansas City, where it snows and it's brown and slushy, the snow stays here usually, although it's December, you wouldn't know it by going outside. It stays down for months, and so you can do all the things like ice fishing and snowmobiling and cross-country skiing that you can't even imagine doing in Kansas City. Now, I've never done any of those things, but I like having the option.
I love that idea. I've never heard anybody say it quite like that you get two places for the price of one.
Yes.
And that's exactly the truth. With White Bear Lake that's right here, and now that the ice is on the lake and kids are out there skating now, and it's like a whole different set of stuff that people are doing out in the ice than they wouldn't be doing otherwise.
Yep. That's the one thing I haven't done is ice fish. So if anybody is going ice fishing and they're looking for somebody else to go with them, I'd be up for that. Yeah. Even if it's sitting on a bucket. In fact, that might even be the best way to do it, because that's the old school. You're not going to go with me. That was not one of my favorite activities, was ice fishing. I have to tell you, the first time I saw a car driving on a frozen lake, I just about freaked out. I thought, what in the heck is going on? It never gets cold enough down there for anybody to do that.
Yeah, I mean, just recently, I was walking along the lake, and I was seeing these people out there, and there's way beyond them where it was open water.
Yeah.
I was like, not me.
Yeah.
I am not going to step on that water until I see a truck.
There you go.
On that water. So, okay, we have time for a couple more questions. What are you doing during COVID? Any new hobbies or activities? Have you taken anything up? Anything new during COVID?
I can't say that I have. I like a lot of different things. I love to read, love history, love studying about cities and how they developed. I think I mentioned that I studied geography and history in college, and so I love everything about that. I love technology. Been trying to read about what we can do with the technology that we use here to be able to bring services to people. I like listening to music. I love Flight Simulator. There's a new version of Flight Simulator out now.
Really? Flight Simulator? That's like really old, isn't it?
Well, but there's a new version that just came out that's fantastic that uses real-time streaming from Google Maps, and I love flying. I'm a wannabe pilot. I think that would have been my perfect job, but because of things that happened when I was, school and eyesight and everything, it never really worked out. So I feel lucky that I've been able to use Flight Simulator to kind of tickle that itch. And it requires a pretty beefy computer, so I've been able to tickle my tech itch by modifying my computer to be able to support it.
Okay. Oh, the Wonder Stick. I have two more questions, but the Wonder Stick is flying in.
The Wonder Stick waits for no one.
I have noticed that. It's not like its own mind, the Wonder Stick. Okay. This must be really... Okay, what is your favorite bakery treat? And who's the family baker?
The favorite what now?
What's your favorite? This isn't even a Wonder Stick person. This isn't even a real word. Bakery treat.
Oh, bakery
treat. What's your favorite bakery treat?
Hootie Creek cookies.
What?
I think they're called Hootie Creeks.
I've never heard of that.
They're like kind of like an oatmeal cookie with cranberries and white chocolate.
Hootie Creek.
I think they're called Hootie Creeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you make these?
No, but I'm very fortunate in that my daughter Sylvie loves to bake.
Oh, so
and I mean, she'll just bake and she'll try new things just for the challenge. And so it seems like we always have something good to eat.
Yeah.
But I love chocolate chip cookies, Hootie Creeks. I think they're called Hootie Creeks. I know it's a funny name, but yeah.
That must be a Missouri thing. I've never heard of a Hootie Creek.
I hadn't heard about it until we lived up here, and they had them available during, how they have those school fundraisers?
Right.
And Hootie Creeks was one of the things you could buy. And so we bought them, and then Sylvie, first Ann, and then now Sylvie learned how to make them, and so.
Oh, yeah. So people actually want to buy those cookies. I remember as a Boy Scout, I had to sell flax and fruit cakes, and no one wanted to buy the fruit cakes.
Yeah.
But we should have used Hootie cookies.
I'll tell you what, I'll ask Sylvie if she'll make some, or the next time she makes some, I'll bring some in, and I bet you become a fan.
Really?
I bet you do.
Right, and Sylvie also, just bragging on your daughter, helped us out with the American Red Cross blood drive last time. So we appreciate that so much.
Sure. Yeah.
No, we have time for one more before Bible study. So last one, what's your favorite way to connect with God? On your own or with others and family, or how do you connect with God, Jeff?
Probably solitary. I used to love to go over the bulletin Sunday nights after church and just read, because it had the order with all the scriptures and the songs, and I would just go over those lessons and look them up in the Bible sometimes, and it was a way to go through church again, but to go a little more contemplatively, I suppose. I love the corporate aspect of it, but it was good just to have me and God, just kind of trying to listen to what God was trying to tell me and experience.
It's good, the combination of the corporate worship and with your community, but also some private time.
Yes, yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
Good. So, okay, I can't let you go. You're a geography guy?
Yes.
So, capitals?
Oh, okay. That's more like trivia.
Yeah, so Alabama. What's the capital of Alabama?
Can't remember if it's Birmingham or Mobile.
Okay, I don't know either.
Yeah, I should have just said, if it's Birmingham, Father. Everyone knows that.
Capital of Tennessee. I know that one.
Tennessee. Is it, no, that's Kentucky. Is it Nashville?
It is Nashville.
Okay.
Yes, it is most definitely not Memphis.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'll give you one more. Capital of, so I'm going to give you a tough one. Let's see. How about capital of Arizona?
I think it's Phoenix.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Well, I don't know. But interesting that you say that. So to me, I mean, I love that kind of stuff. But yeah, so geography is good. I love like how cities have developed over time and migrations and that kind of stuff. But capitals are good too. What's interesting is a lot of states, the capitals are not where you'd think they would be.
I know.
Yeah.
Like Illinois. Illinois.
Springfield.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, in Missouri, it's Jefferson City, which is, because it's between St. Louis and Kansas City and kind of in the middle of the state.
Wait. Missouri, the capital of Missouri is what?
Jefferson City, Missouri.
You're lying.
No.
That's the truth?
Yes.
I did not. I am embarrassed. Jefferson City, Missouri.
Yeah.
Wow, I forgot that from
It's-
7th grade or whenever.
It's right on the Missouri River that goes between Kansas City and St. Louis, and there's a U.S. highway that goes through there. That,
Jeff, thanks so
Oh.
much. It's super fun. I knew it would be because you're the greatest guy in the world. Thank you so much for what you're doing for St. John's. Truly, we so appreciate it and your faithfulness. I mean, you're really working hard to be, and so we're so grateful for what you're doing for us.
You're very welcome, Father, and thanks for being so welcoming, and everybody here welcoming to me and my family. And it's an honor to be able to serve and to be a part of this community.
Great, thank you. Couple announcements before we go. This coming weekend, we're reversing things a little bit. Our Saturday evening service will be at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's live streamed, however. Usually that is the recorded service. This week it is live streamed. So it's still at 4 o'clock. And then on Sunday at 10 o'clock, we are going to have a Lessons and Carols service with readers from across our parish, a lot of different voices, as well as singers as well. So that is a recorded service, but it will premiere at 10 o'clock on Sunday. So same times, just a little bit of a different format. And we will be having the drive-up communion on Sundays at the same time, 11:15 to 11:45. The other thing I have to let you know about is that this will be our last Between the Trees until after the new year, because we have a lot of Christmas things that are going to be happening on Wednesdays and some other things happening on Wednesdays. So Jeff's the last one for 2020.
Wow.
And I know, isn't that weird? So thanks, and we'll pick it up again actually in January. I think it's going to be January 13th is when we pick up our very first one. But thanks for joining us. And the last thing I'll say, because you still have 2 minutes, is you can still make Bible study. Bible study starts in 2 minutes on a different link on the website. So the Bible study right now is Advent and the Coming Christ. And it starts in 2 minutes. So if you hadn't had enough, log off of here, log on to there, and it'll be totally worth it. So thanks so much for tuning in tonight. And again, thanks, Jeff, so much for joining us.
You're very welcome. Thanks for asking me to be a part of it.
You bet.